Hi, welcome to the line. We have a great treat today. I mean, really fun. One of my most fun guests. Really, I think a sister from another mother, out of Boulder, Colorado. Really a tech maven that's changing the way startups are happening on the West Coast. And I'm going to throw Denver in that West Coast arena there. Also got a vowel at the end of her name, Nicole Casanova with Casanova Ventures. You've got a very kind of unique background. Talk to us about how you got into tech.
How I got into tech?
Yeah.
So I'll go way back. So in 1995, I did my master's thesis on targeted marketing on the web.
Oh, wow.
And my dissertation committee, who all came out of New York, ad agency guys, thought I was insane.
Yeah.
They said, you're door to door, tell people to be on the World Wide Web. And I said, yes, you fail me, I'm not changing a word of it. And I went snowboarding for the next 2 months.
Uh-huh.
And then I went to San Francisco and I worked with 3 startups that all went public. And
Wow.
Golden and advertising, I like tech.
So-
I like startups.
So 95, you were doing. I just want to repeat that because that's pretty bleeding edge. I mean, you probably started when you were 10, right?
No.
So I was throwing a softball there for you, Nicole. So the 95, you were doing targeted marketing online. I mean, people weren't even really still believing in the internet then. I mean, was this thing going to stick? Was it going to stay? I mean, and that's how far ahead you were. And then you got engaged in these tech startups that took off. And you started to really find a pattern there for growth, right? And that's kind of what launched your career into a whole new stratosphere. And now that's really led to you really helping mentor and lead women into tech, to driving and creating their own technology startups. Talk to me about how that evolution has taken place.
All right, so go back to I'm gonna go back a little bit.
Okay.
There again. So, I worked for a company called, it had multiple names. Eventually, we were part of like Realtor.com. Took them from 3 people to like 2,000.
Wow.
Not perfect. I was point number 3. I did get them from 10,000 hits, 10 registered members. Then I went to Lycos, which you probably heard of.
Yep.
And then I went to a company where this was permission-based marketing prior to spam. So we were giving people points for their actions. We had 5,000 data points to target against. And I could get like 30% conversion. So I was pulling people through a chain of steps. I just became friends with all the VCs, and as they were launching their next companies, I said, do you need another 200,000 registered members?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, call Nicole. So that led me into kind of a next round of being really interested in behavior change. So that was all about how do you incent behavior.
Right.
Advertise beyond branding. When we get into measuring effectiveness and looking at acquisition costs to the penny, it's like, okay, how do you get somebody to do what you want them to do in a good way?
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided I was going to do something more purpose, and I left and I created what showed up as a board game called Shift. And that showed us why we do what we do. And it showed you what was keeping you from your full potential, what was driving your behavior. And like in an hour, you could see exactly why you do what you do. So that was all about what's driving behavior.
Right. So from doing this, to how you could get people to motivate and move and drive through an interaction online, to really go into how we're doing that in our own lives and really following our greater purpose. I mean, that was the connecting line that came through your entire life. And now you're doing this in a totally different way, building this very unique mastermind group network for women that are kind of down the similar path, and showing them that line keeps kind of extending through. Is that kind of where you're going with Casanova Ventures?
Yeah. So part of what I've been doing right now is focusing on working with women who are running, often it shows up as technology companies because I'm interested in people who can scale.
Mm-hmm.
And focus on a whole bunch of things, but the first piece, we look at leverage. How can you cut corners and get to the most, how can you make the most money with the least amount of resources, right? Especially if you're in startup mode.
Right.
And the first piece to leverage is mindset. So that was one of the things, that golden thread of behavior change, how do you make behavior change stick? That is a big deal because you can have best product ever, your marketing could be winning awards in the room with the right players, but if you don't know your value and your worth, you are not going to make the ask. You will sabotage yourself every time. So
I always call it the glass ceiling, right? We can bruise our head on it. Just if just to relate this back, I mean, I've been kind of on the opposite path. I coached businesses for a decade, built a network, and then really got into these technology companies where I was helping these guys create this amplified growth. And I was like, man, I could do this. This should, why not? If I can help these guys do this, I should be able to do this myself. And, be careful what you wish for, right? So and that's funny that the intersection that you and I kind of came to was, that path. But really the underlying word that I keep coming back to is abundance. And to think abundantly, to find abundance in your life, you have to believe in it. And you have to believe, Einstein used to say that the most important question you can ask yourself is this a friendly universe? And I think if you're going to think abundantly, if you're going to create abundance for people, you've got to believe in that. And that's really kind of that's the foundation of what you're helping these women really see. Is that true?
That is absolutely, I mean, the fact that your perceptions create your reality. What you feel internally is what's going to show up externally. That's critical. And so we all have the ability to make choices. We're basically mocking up everything all the time anyway. Mm-hmm. Why not create something that's going to get us where we want to go, mm-hmm. right? Like whatever we're believing in this moment, it's what's going to start showing up for us. Mm-hmm. And it's constantly a clean slate. So choose the useful thoughts. Choose what it is you want to experience. Mm-hmm. Because when you're looking for the lack, when you're looking for, the limited time, money, all these things, especially when you're in startup mode, it's like the whole thing is focused on urgency and a lack mentality. Mm-hmm. That's just going to keep you in really fun. Mm-hmm. And so how do you actually step back and recognize that, one, you're not your business? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a big thing as well. Mm-hmm. Our identities are so tied to our businesses, especially for raising money, mm-hmm. you name it. And, being able to step back and recognize that you're basically the thing that is innate, that will remain. Mm-hmm. Truth, abundant, beauty, love, all those things will be what remains, whether or not the business goes or not.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing I always used to tell my clients, and this is just something that I think, resonates, is like your business doesn't care what you used to make in payroll. It just knows this or knows this, right? It either knows growth or no growth. And it's not your baby either, right? You can defend your children and you can defend, your family, but your business is got a more objective feedback loop that you need the market to criticize in order to get better. And you need to listen, because that insight, that creativity that the market can give you, the feedback loop that it can incite can give you the abundance if you believe it's there, if you come from that place that it exists for you. And I think that's one of the things you're helping people get their head around. Am I overstepping kind of where you're going with this?
I mean, and I would say, people always ask me, like, did you just make a shift? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. For me, it's like bending spoons. It is a constant. And I understand, like, that you can get to a place, and it's just, I make a decision that this is the reality I choose to be in. Mm-hmm. I still get to continually bend those spoons, right? Like, mm-hmm. your mind is a muscle, or mm-hmm. still my belief. Mm-hmm. I can shift that belief, right? And mm-hmm. just make it that it, as is, this is what is. Mm-hmm. I like what you're saying in terms of looking at, the market, not necessarily for validation, but mm-hmm. to be able to respond rather than react, and mm-hmm. see what is showing up that's supportive. Is this what my customers want? Mm-hmm. And being able to make those decisions and shifts based on what's, we can't just be insulated. Yeah. We need to look at what's actually showing up. How are people responding?
Amen. We got 1 minute. What's the one thing you want to tell every woman CEO, every CEO really out there that's trying to get a tech startup off the ground, that's trying to will into existence something that didn't exist before, to change paradigms, to crush, the giants, if you will. What's the one thing you want them to know?
Here's what's been showing up a lot lately, and I just been like, so we've been told, and this shows up for me as well, that as women, we're not good at negotiating, or we're not good at asking mm-hmm. for ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to somebody else, we're really good at it. Mm-hmm. So why don't we shift the game and say, okay, fine, I'm really good at showing up for someone else. So when I'm in the room and I'm making the ask and I'm going for that next round, or I'm selling whatever it is, mm-hmm. it's not for me to ask for myself anymore. It's for me to ask for her. Mm-hmm. all about me doing it for this next woman. And if I can't do that, I mean, at this point, I've been studying mindset stuff for a long time. So you're either ignorant, which I'm no longer ignorant, I know this stuff, or you're lazy or you're weak. And it's my responsibility, it is my joy and my obligation to make these asks and do it for the next woman. So
Amen.
That's what's been showing up a lot lately.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show, Nicole.
You're welcome.